do this, there's no time for this here, but I do this great rendition of FDR's first inaugural.
I've heard it.
You've heard it. In which basically, if I change a couple of the names, people think it's Hitler. Because basically what he's doing is he's bullying Congress. And he's like, Congress, you must give me absolute power or I will just take it. And you don't want that to happen. That was basically FDR's message to Congress, right? So the thing is, again, you see this sort of legitimate American monarchy where you see the presidency, which was originally designed as a monarchy, sort of as, you know, just not in the sense of a hereditary monarchy, but just in the sense of one manager, like, again, all other functional institutions in the universe. And, you know, and you see it sort of reassert that form and recreate and redefine what government is and just kind of route around this whole old mess. So it's like when you look at Afghanistan and you're like, how would I fix DOD so it wouldn't do this shit? It's impossible. Just like lay the whole thing off, keep the equipment, keep, you know, some of the engineers basically at the contractors developing the equipment, keep special ops, like the rest of it, like who is invading us anyway, right? Oh, we have some theoretical quarrel over Taiwan, like what? And you start to look at these whole systems, which all date to FDR's world, which are all sort of built on the assumptions that were made in FDR's world. And those assumptions sort of keep getting rationalized over and over again. And those rationalizations are incredibly deeply embedded at this kind of fundamental level in government. So for example, you've probably heard the term national security. When does that term date to? That term is an FDR era term. And it was sort of originally invented with most of the language of DOD, which used to be, of course, the War Department, basically to tell Americans that securing their own country, the nation, required providing global leadership to the entire world. If you ever have a real State Department believer on, and you want them to, like, you know, spin around very quickly in their seat, ask them what the difference is between global leadership and world domination. And so, you know, you have this whole bureaucracy of world domination, which won't even, you know, there's no World Domination Council, there's no, you know, like, which is under, you know, operating wholly under the theory that the only way to secure America is to secure the world, which is not a ridiculous theory. It's a theory worth considering. It is definitely not a theory worth assuming.
I agree.
And so, you know, the capacity to sort of question a theory like this at a very deep level does not exist in the regime. And so you don't have institutions. And so, you know, just to finish my spiel, when we had this amazing terrorism thing, which has given just such this amazing post-Cold War like burst of life to DOD, which now seems to be ending. So I guess, you know, maybe probably we'll get some more terrorism at some point, and they'll get back on that. But it gave this, you know, it created people's careers at DOD. They were fighting in the global war on terror. You know, I saw this funny tweet, congratulations to Terror for winning the war on terror, you know, I guess.
And to drugs for winning the war on drugs.
And drugs have also won the war on drugs. Poverty has obviously just kicked our asses all around in the war on poverty, right? You know, maybe it's time to realize that you're not as good at war as you think, you know, and this is a systemic problem across the regime. You just can't imagine like fixing DOD to be able to do something as simple and basic as occupying.
2-minute answer. How long are we in?
We're pretty far in.
We're pretty far in.
All right.
So I got it. So
you got to cut me. You got to cut me off. You got to cut me off. Well,
but I want to know what the next regime is. So you're describing.
It's very simple. I'll give you. You know.
Like there's no leadership is basically what you keep saying.
Yeah. Essentially, you know, the next regime, and I think, you know, one of the differences I have with Mike Anton is that, you know, we talk about Caesarism a lot, and, you know, you're clearly, from my perspective, looking very much at a fall of the Roman Republic event here in a best case scenario. Worst case scenario is more like the fall of the Roman Empire.
Right.
Let's go for the best case scenario.
But we're clearly at a transition between one form of government and another.
Yes, and the thing that to observe, and the reason why the fall of the Roman Republic is a best case scenario is that it got a couple of very good CEOs in a row. It got Caesar, who was an excellent CEO, but could have worked a little harder on his personal security. And then it got Augustus, who was merely a very good CEO, who continued Caesar's regime for like 30 years or whatever. And by the time, you know, Augustus had reinvented the Roman state, It was a pretty effective organization, and that's why it ruled the known world for the next 400 years, despite, fucking some shit up.
Yeah.
And so one of the sort of critical points of that transition, and I think that's sort of one of the most important things, is sort of, am I really seeing this or am I not really seeing this? One of the important things about am I seeing this is that Caesar, although, Rome has this like red versus blue thing that's been going on for like 400 years, the conflict of the orders, the patricians against the plebeians,
right.
And then it turns into the populares versus the optimates. And Caesar is a red state guy. He's a populist. He comes out of the party of the populares. He's set against the old Senate. And the old Senate basically is very oligarchical, and one of the reasons why they always lose their wars against Caesar is they basically can't actually delegate their power to a single leader. Caesar comes, he's a red state guy, but he comes out, and that's where he comes out of, but his mission in ruling Rome is to rule all of Rome and to unify Rome. And so, the way he does that doesn't involve giving any power back to the Senate. But, for example, one of the things Caesar doesn't do, which is a normal thing to do in a Roman regime change, is basically kill his enemies and take their money. Because he's basically like, no, actually, you're not my enemies anymore because the struggle is over. So, the most important thing that you need to look for in kind of the next sort of regime change in this country, assuming it follows the pattern of the past, which is basically under the same constitution, the regime reinvents itself every 75 or 80 years. It's kind of like an earthquake, like the San Andreas Fault is about due to go.
So the quality, and I can guess what you're going to say, is does the next leader bring the professional class with him?
Yes, and the thing is, basically, does he have a message to those people? Is his message to those people, if his message is, to those people is, I'm just going to kill you where you stand, like Rwanda, and like throw your body in the stream, that's not going to work out very well.
Right.
But the thing is that the message of, like, this is a really, we're both from this class, we can say this. These are, in many ways, the best people in America. And just as human beings, their ideas are terrible. But as human beings, they're wonderful. They have the best taste. They eat the best food. These are not insignificant things. This is an aristocracy. And so, the thing is that basically populism has to kind of get beyond this aristophobia and basically say, just as these are wonderful people, they've been corrupted by power. They're like a beautiful lake into which like 80 years of dioxin has been flowing. And, they don't think about anything besides making an impact and getting more status and getting, their name in lights at the New Yorker or whatever. And they know that these institutions have rotted and are actually horrible in a way. It's like, wherever they've been corrupted by power. You know what the best thing in the New Yorker is? You know what the best thing in the New Yorker
Shouts
is?
and murmurs?
No, the cartoons.
Yeah, of course. They're the only subversive thing.
They're the only subversive thing, and why is that? Because basically there isn't like a new breed of like they're just above being woke. They just don't matter enough to get woke. Right. And so they're like math. They've sort of been incorrupted. And so the thing is that basically if you want to, first of all, there's just no world in which you can do this without electing a president who says, I am the chief executive of the executive branch. I am going to reinvent the executive branch. And the way I'm going to do it is simply by working around the one we have and creating a new one which has all the power. As for the people we have, with very few exceptions, they'll be retired. And we're just going to create a new government next to the old one, and we're going to shut the old one down in a very nice and peaceful way that does not involve dragging any bodies through the street, that involves probably your retirement benefits are going to be increased. You're going to get an awesome severance if you work for this old thing because we're actually buying you out. We're saying you have power. Okay, so here's what the American people are going to do to you. We're going to print a whole bunch of money, because that's really one of the things that we're still good at. We're going to print a whole bunch of money, and we're going to buy you out. And you're just done. And it's like the day after, you know what? There's a funny fact about regime change. The Federal Republic of Germany is still paying pensions, not only to retired Stasi officers, but also to retired Wehrmacht officers. It is accepted that both of those regimes were Germany. If you serve those regimes and you weren't like some kind of major criminal who's been prosecuted, yeah, you're entitled to your pension. And the way that shutdown worked is that the day the doors of the Stasi building were closed and these people were sent home, you couldn't reboot that system.
So what you don't do is disband the Iraqi army and declare them all.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, no, you can disband the Iraqi army. You can't like declare them persona non grata
Right,
and send them fleeing. And you have to put in your own government as well.
Curtis Yarvin. Now, I think we've gone like maybe an hour and 20, and I think anyone who's, how long? We've gone a long time.
Oh, shit.
And anybody who has watched to this point, I think, was expanded. Even people who didn't agree with the word you said. And it just tells you, again, what a sad moment this is, because you're not talking on TV every day, and people like you don't have an opportunity to talk more. You can read, what's the name of your?
Gray Mirror, Gray with an A, the American way. GrayMirror.substack, substack.com. If you just Google Gray Mirror, I think I'm above like the product ads now. So just type Gray Mirror into your Google bar, and then send me money.
If you think that a country this great deserves a robust, scintillating conversation about what's happening, if you think that like actual philosophy has a place in our life, and I do,
then you got to let it be a grift, and you got to pay me. Thank you so much, Tucker.
The name of the show is Tucker Carlson Today. It exists for conversations like this every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on Fox Nation. We'll see you every weeknight on the Fox News Channel.